Geneva. The tragedy, but the prospect and the remedy. There is a remedy if it were generally and spontaneously adopted. If, as if by a miracle, would make whole Europe, or at least greater part of it, as free and as happy as Switzerland is today. What is this sovereign remedy? It is to recreate the European family, or as much of it as we can, and provide it with a structure under which it can dwell in peace, safety and freedom. We must build a kind of United States of Europe, said Winston Churchill. In this way only will hundreds of millions be able to regain the simple joys and hopes which make life worth living. The process is simple. All that is needed is the resolve of hundreds of millions of men and women to do right instead of wrong, and gain as their reward blessing instead of cursing. 42 years later, in Brugge, in Belgium, Margaret Thatcher said, "Let me be quite clear. Britain does not dream of some cozy, isolated existence on the fringes of the European community. Our destiny is in Europe, as part of the community. However, the community is not an end in itself. If Slovakia is Central Europe, and simultaneously Central Europe is Europe, then Slovakia is Europe. Slovakia is Germany, Slovakia is France, Slovakia is Luxembourg, Slovakia is Netherlands, Slovakia is Belgium, Slovakia is Great Britain, Slovakia is Finland, Slovakia is Ireland, Slovakia is Portugal, Slovakia is Spain, Slovakia is Greece. Slovakia is 27 other states, and these 27 states are Slovakia, because they are all Europe. So what then is this Europe? When we are here in this tent in Fuga, in Bratislava, capital of Slovakia, in Central Europe, talking in English, language which is not ours, which I have started to learn in 1984, and soon after I could follow Ronald Reagan talking on press conference in Reykjavik with Mikhail Gorbachev, and my father was so proud. So again, what is this Europe? Is it real? Is it an idea? Abstract idea that you have to work hard to understand? Something like calculus, something like a Big Bang. Imagine one day you wake up and you cannot use calculus in Slovakia. All the engineers, all the economists, scientists, mathematicians, bureaucrats can suddenly use only primitive arithmetic, like cashier in Tesco. What will they do? They will all move to Germany. Imagine yourself being outside Europe. What will you do? You will lose your family. You will lose your friends when committing to exile.
Thank you. I don't know if I can follow up with that from that speech. That was rather nice. I was told to prepare a small speech for the concept of happy endings. And there was a lot more information given to me, but I just stuck with happy endings. And the idea, the whole concept of happy endings, it really got to me. Because as much as I have experienced things that have ended and I have experienced happiness as a 20-year-old, I don't know if there's much that I can say. I don't know if there is much that I can contribute, but here's what I understood so far. Happiness is situational. Happiness is personal, it's subjective. And, you know, there are people who are happy by saying I do at a wedding to their wife, future wife. And then there's also people who are happy while masturbating to a Star Wars character. So, it's definitely situational. And endings, I don't know. Endings, I don't know if death, for example, can be the best description of an ending. Because we all know as one life ends, there's another one beginning. There's probably a lot more life happening right now. There's some babies happening wanted, and some babies happening unwanted. So it's, I don't know if it can all be black and white. Definitely there's this massive gray area, especially in our times that we are living in. And I don't know if I want to have a happy ending. I don't know if, as a greedy human, I'd ever want my happiness to end, or if I'd ever want an ending to come at the time when I'm happy. Have you guys ever been, you know, kids playing at a birthday party, and then your parents come over and they ask you to leave, it's time to go, and you just don't want to go because you're having too much fun? That's when you don't want your happiness to end. But at the same time, it should end at that time because that's when you're happiest, right? That's when you are having the most fun. That's when you are enjoying yourself the most. And then comes, again, the paradox that you should always end things at a peak. You should end or quit your career when you are at a peak, or you should always try and work for something to the point where you are exceptionally satisfied, and then you let things go. So when I was asked again about happy endings, I was left myself with a giant question mark. And there was also something mentioned about democracy and freedom and everything. And then again, I'm 20 and I don't understand much about life. So I leave it to my fellow committee members to also contribute to the discussion. Perhaps I'll learn more about how to understand my surroundings and what to understand from the concept of happy endings.
I'm used to have happy endings every day. I'm a newspaper man. We have to prepare a newspaper, finish it, and send it into a printing house. Every day. No tomorrows, no waiting for better days. Every day. I browse through the newspapers every morning. I'm looking for good stories. But today I was searching for happy endings. There were some. I'll read you 10 headlines from Slovak newspapers, which have happy endings. This is the message from Slovakia, as I saw it today in press. First one is, he ran away from problems. That's a total happy ending. That was a story about a university professor who left university because he got a problem there. The second one is, the ministers buried their heads in the sand. That's a typical Slovak happy ending. That was about a prisoner who left the prison and they don't know what to do. Third one is, imagine the future. That's only a start, but it's imagine the future. That's a happy ending. It's in God's hands. That's a third one, and that was about our football players who are leaving to France to play football. Fifth, the swan song of antibiotics, Superbug will beat them. I mean, it's complete happy ending. Boo, 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 said Matúš. mother is Minister of Culture in this country. Boo 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 is boo boo boo. Jager gained weight. Dumb Beata spoke by the mouth of Adam Jurica. That's a total happy ending. You'll probably not understand it, but that's it. Almost the last one is, you can't have it all. And the 10th, last one, that's a headline from my newspaper. To happy endings.
So I still do not understand what I'm doing here. I have to admit, because I'm used to speak publicly, but I'm not some kind of jukebox. You just put the coin and you can sing any song you want. But I will try to do some comment about what I thought could be my position on happy endings. And probably that was the reason why Fedor called me here. So I got married and I got a child, Ella, and then I was diagnosed a very severe venous malformation, which got a lot of bad future predictions, or I don't know, like something of bad diagnosis. And when I went for the operation, it was quite a sad moment, because everybody was telling me that I will not probably survive, and if I will have a lot of problems to speak and probably understand things. And I went through this operation, and it was not so easy. So for 1 year, I was it was quite difficult for me to formulate things. I lost my speech, all 3 languages which I'm speaking. I had to relearn to write, to speak, and so on. After 6 or 7 years, I'm here in this marvelous tent with you, trying to speak about happy endings, and I think for me it ended well. I have 2 more children, happy wife, and my message to you is that, in fact, every day which I'm living from now, or from the moment when I return back from the hospital, is some kind of like every day is some kind of given day to me. So because I have had these like really cruel moments in my life, I really enjoy every day which I just have as a bonus. And probably in the context of the European Union and of the today's world, I think that we do not remember much what bad times Europe or the world have had in the past. And if I would like to make the parallel, because I have been through these really big problems, I can really enjoy and really be happy with everything which is happening to me. And when I see what the Slovak electorate is voting and which kind of tensions there are in the world now, I think that it is because people do not remember the bad times and because they have not lived them. And probably we should always remember and remind to the younger generation that it was bad at that time, and it's not good to make to let a situation be so severe that some kind of war could become in the future. So I think that those who have lived any happy ending should be a promoter of peace and stability in this Europe which we have now. And I think that politicians which are not taking that in account are really threatening our future. So that's my position on happy ending.
I very rarely speak out of heart, but normally I write and then I read. in the logics of retrofuturism, or even better words of Emmanuel Levinas, all that can ever be thought has been thought of already. I start with Phaedrus of Socrates, where the writing is described by Plato, rewriting the oral history of Socrates. Writing is forgetting, drug, pharmakon. Writing is externalization of memory. Writing means voluntary deprivation of physiological memory, conversion of neuroplastic brain. This deprivation allows cortexual structures to have more capacity, penetrability, dedicated to channeling of absorption of over-impulse nature, information and knowledge surplus, saturation, and quantitative momentum of communication. Percepts are post-produced only partially, because the economical brain already comes with the externalized storages. Percepts are processed as transitory objects, which progress automatically to machinistic interfaces. This is reflected by change of language as well, of course, which shifts its concentration to logistics of organization, transfer, distributional issues in peripheral archival apparatuses. The language is step by step dominated by acronymical hyperlexics. And yes, scales of blinded justice remind us to the same understanding of the dark science as well, how agilely we rely on external tools of judging and believing. So, belief and law does not rise from inside, but is created outside. Yes, of course, today we know that to divide the inner and the outer like this is for ages non-relevant anymore. Since Heracleitos, we know that cosmos is not somewhere there, but it starts right here with us. The connection of physical mind to platforms mentioned is definitely unbreakable. Even more, with the advancement of nanotech, nanomech and nanomet, we are trying to integrate technologies right to our explicit physiological interiors. Again, of course, it's nothing new at all. The history of anatomical prosthetics starts with the monkey and the bone, the instrument, simple prolongation of a limb. And one of the first cyborgs known was Pandora, the automaton of Hephaestus. Overdimensionality of prosthetic environment is accelerated to the superiority of its authority. Authority of substitutional sector consistently claims for the respect of its authentic entity. Nick Bostrom and George Dvorsky of Institute of Ethics and Emerging Technologies at Oxford University establish the rights of non-human persons. Common law behaves in opposition to natural justice. If to kill, not to be killed counts there are no rights. Here in culture, we consider it as utmost solution, but maybe just apparently, because if through natural instinct it is true that to survive means at the first to steal the food from weaker ones, what are doing imperialist enterprises like Monsanto, for example? We are trying to eliminate the most of instinctivity of reactive behavior, but it remains as a conceptual segment of manipulative exploitation infrastructures. The replacement of pheromones, which we have degraded to stink, with perfumes means loss of access to its cognitive reception. We prefer substitutions because through cultural dogmas they are constructed as more delightful and more qualitative, materially, technically, than our body was. We prefer substitutions because they allow an advantage of choice. We can be who we want to be. We can correct aesthetics of our skin, partial or complete look, appearance. We can moderate our sex, genitals, gender. We can extend our lifespan. We can negate pain. We can multiply sight, hearing, taste, pleasure. We can alternate weakening organs. We can reproduce ourselves with an assistance, extrauterina. In vocabulary of posthumanism, transhumanism, metahumanism, techno-Gaianism, extropism, we spell fields of ontology, engineering, altered consciousness, mind uploading, deep brain stimulation, the whole brain emulation. We fly higher than birds, we swim deeper than fishes, we travel better than moles, we live richer than gods. The abstraction, the term of body, is wide open to any change. Somehow, in a sense of medieval, body is a prison to soul, body is a corrupt vessel of spirit. That primary body minifies its fraction so far that we can only predict if we will have an evidence of me in the future in singularity. Fatality of singularity, occurrency of Kurzweil's hypothesis, we can already metaphorically register in the extreme norm core. We can't recognize social, educational, aesthetically directional worldview statuses of individuals anymore, according to their outfits. Everyone has the same haircut, clothes, telephones, iPhones, iPeople. Ultra-eclecticism is the tag of the wholeness of culture. This uniformity is kind of commonness which protects intimacy outwards. The space of previous freedoms is silently colonized by wireless infrastructures, by extra statecraft as described by Keller Easterling. Nets of mediation industries cosmocratically dominate. Mediation industries know where you are, what you do, how you are, even better than you, seriously, really. Mediation industries change the flow of time. Ontological future has happened before the present, because your decision-making methodology, that so-called free will, was profiled ad absurdum. The choice is the choice of out of existing offer. There are so many submissions, so it demotivates individual creativity. Creativity realizes itself in a sphere of creative consumption. Almost everything I mentioned is non-polarizable. Everything is both compositely good and both discotically bad. The left from the position of the one is the right from the position of the other. Two emanations of correlation, neutralization. Pluralism was fractalized to hyper-multilateralism. Every person is a potential of consumerism. The strongest apparatus of consumerism is relativism. Hyper-multilateralism responds to singularism because analytical crumbling of the personhood to sortable fragments advances towards to its metonymical command by the one and only super-strong algorithm of analogical matching and conceptual blending. In the future we can expect zero adjustment of political profilation, extinction of parliamentary democracy, non-existence of ethno-cultural diversity. This will be the era of the happiest sterility of intergalactic civilization of immortals.
Little answer to that. Humans, bureaucrats with good table manners, chained to the earth, creatures of clay as frail as the foliage of woods, you unfortunate race, whose life is but darkness, as unreal as a shadow, the illusion of a dream. So we'd like to thank very much our speakers. I think that you can ask questions to them afterwards. I think it's now kind of a time to let the poetry fall into the poetry, as everyone had different pieces to come in. Parts of a puzzle never to be completed. La 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 la. Mic test. human condition. Test.
Hey.
The tape recorder. Hey.
Tape.
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 Tape. Tape.
Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear.
Tape recorder
Tape
1
recorder
is
2 is guilt.
Tape recorder
Tape
2
recorder
is
3 is joy.
Tape recorder 3
Tape
is
recorder
God.
1 is fear.
After Hiroshima.
Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear.
Tape
Tape
recorder
recorder 2 is
3 is
guilt.
God, who deteriorated
Tape recorder
into
3 is
Hiroshima
joy.
after Electric American.
Tape recorder 1 is fear.
Tape recorder 1
Tape
is
recorder
Adam.
2 is guilt.
Tape recorder 2
Tape
is
recorder
Eve.
3 is joy.
Tape recorder 1
Tape recorder 1
God,
is fear.
who deteriorated
Tape
after
recorder 2
Hiroshima
is
after
guilt.
Electric American.
Tape recorder 3 is
Tape
joy.
recorder 1 is Adam.
Tape recorder 1 is fear.
Tape recorder 2
Tape
is
recorder
Eve.
2 is guilt.
Tape recorder 3 is
Tape
God,
recorder 3
who
is joy.
deteriorated after Hiroshima.
Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 2 is joy.
The male light.
Tape
The
recorder 1 is fear.
the virus.
Tape recorder 2 is guilt.
Tape recorder 2 is female light.
Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy. Tape recorder 1 is fear. Tape recorder 2 is guilt. Tape recorder 3 is joy.